Hello everyone, and welcome back to Learning English US. I'm Jessica, and I'm so happy to have you here with me today. If you are learning English and sometimes feel nervous, shy, or afraid to speak, then this lesson is especially for you. Today's topic is how to build confidence in English. We are going to talk about why many learners lose confidence, how you can overcome fear, and with simple daily habits can help you become a more confident English speaker. Before we begin, I want you to remember one important thing. You do not need to speak perfect English to communicate. You do not need a perfect accent, a huge vocabulary, or flawless grammar. The goal of learning a language is communication. If people can understand your message, then you are already making progress. Confidence does not come from being perfect. Confidence comes from practicing, making mistakes, and continuing to improve every day. Let me ask you a simple question. Have you ever understood an English sentence in your mind, but felt unable to say it out loud? Maybe you knew the words, but you were worried about pronunciation. Maybe you thought people would laugh at your mistakes. If you have ever felt this way, you are not alone. Millions of English learners around the world experience the same challenge. Even advanced learners sometimes feel nervous when they speak with native speakers or in unfamiliar situations. Many people believe that confident English speakers were simply born with natural talent. But the truth is very different. Most confident speakers started exactly where you are today. They struggle to remember words, they made grammar mistakes, and they often felt embarrassed. The difference is that they did not stop. They continued practicing until speaking English became a natural part of their lives. Imagine a child learning to walk. The child falls many times before taking steady steps. No one expects a child to walk perfectly on the first day. Instead, everyone encourages the child to keep trying. Learning English is very similar. Every mistake is a step forward. Every incorrect sentence teaches you something new. If you accept mistakes as part of the learning process, you will become much more confident. One of the biggest reasons people lose confidence is because they compare themselves to others. Perhaps you watch a YouTube video where someone speaks English very fluently. You might think, I will never sound like that. But remember, you are only seeing the result, not the journey. That person may have spent years studying, practicing, and making mistakes. Comparing your beginning to someone else's success can make you feel discouraged. Instead, compare yourself to the person you were last month or last year. If you know more words today than you did before, then you are making progress. Another common problem is the fear of making mistakes. Many learners stay silent because they're afraid of saying something wrong. They worry about grammar, pronunciation, or using the wrong vocabulary. But think about this. When a foreign visitor tries to speak your language, do you laugh at them for making mistakes? Probably not. Most people appreciate the effort and try to help. English speakers usually feel the same way. They understand that learning a language is difficult, and they respect people who are willing to try. One of the best ways to build confidence is to practice speaking every day. You do not need a classroom or a language partner to begin. You can practice by speaking to yourself. For example, when you wake up in the morning, try describing your day in English. You might say, today I am going to work. After work, I will visit the supermarket and then I will study English for 30 minutes. Speaking to yourself may feel unusual at first, but it helps train your brain to think in English. Thinking in English is another powerful habit. Many learners translate every sentence from their native language before speaking. This process takes time and creates stress. Instead, try to think directly in English. Start with simple things around you. Look at a chair and think, "This is a chair." Look outside the window and think, "The weather is sunny today." Little by little, your mind will become more comfortable using English naturally. Listening is also an important part of building confidence. The more English you hear, the more familiar the language becomes. Listen to podcasts, educational videos, simple conversations, and audiobooks. You do not need to understand every word. Focus on understanding the general idea. Over time, your ears will become trained to recognize common words and expressions. This will make speaking much easier because your brain will already know what natural English sounds like. Imagine that you are learning to play a musical instrument. Before performing a song, you spend many hours listening, practicing, and repeating. Language learning works in a similar way. Listening provides the foundation for speaking. The more quality English you listen to, the more confident you will feel when it is your turn to talk. Reading can also increase your confidence. Reading simple English stories, articles, or dialogues helps you learn sentence patterns and useful vocabulary. You do not need to choose difficult books. In fact, reading material that matches your level is often more effective. When you understand what you read, you feel motivated. Motivation creates confidence, and confidence encourages you to continue learning. Another helpful strategy is keeping a small English journal. Every evening, write a few simple sentences about your day. You might write, "Today I worked hard. I had lunch with my family. In the evening, I watched an English video and learned 5 new words." Writing regularly helps you organize your thoughts and strengthens your ability to create sentences. Over time, you will notice that writing and speaking become easier. Let's talk about vocabulary. Many learners think they need to memorize thousands of words before they can speak English confidently. Actually, everyday conversations often use a relatively small group of common words and phrases. Instead of trying to learn 50 new words every day, focus on learning a few useful expressions and practice using them repeatedly. For example, phrases like "How are you?" "That sounds great." "I'm not sure." "Could you help me?" and "What do you mean?" are used in countless conversations. Repeating useful phrases helps build automatic responses. When someone asks you, "How was your day?" you should not need to stop and translate. With enough practice, the answer comes naturally. This automatic response reduces anxiety and increases confidence. Pronunciation is another area where many learners feel insecure. They worry that their accent is not perfect. But remember, English is a global language spoken by people from many different countries. There is no single perfect accent. Clear communication is much more important than sounding exactly like a native speaker. Focus on speaking clearly and at a comfortable pace. Do not rush. Speaking slowly and clearly often sounds more confident than speaking quickly and making many mistakes. A useful exercise is shadowing. Shadowing means listening to a native speaker and repeating what they say immediately after hearing it. You can use podcasts, YouTube videos, or short dialogues. Listen to one sentence, pause the audio, and repeat it aloud. Try to copy the rhythm and pronunciation. This simple habit can greatly improve your speaking skills over time. Now, let's imagine a real-life situation. Suppose you visit a coffee shop in an English-speaking country. The barista asks, "What would you like to order?" You feel nervous because you are afraid of making a mistake. But instead of staying silent, You smile and answer, "I'd like a medium coffee, please." Even if your pronunciation is not perfect, you successfully communicate your message. That small success builds confidence. The next time you order something, you will feel a little less nervous. Confidence grows through experience. Every conversation, no matter how short, teaches you something valuable. Perhaps you learn a new word, discover a new expression, or realize that people understand you more easily than you expected. These small victories add up over time. Another important point is setting realistic goals. Some learners become discouraged because they expect to become fluent in a few months. Language learning takes time. Instead of focusing only on the final goal, celebrate small achievements. Maybe this week you learned 10 new phrases. Maybe today you understood an English video without subtitles. Maybe you introduced yourself confidently for the first time. These are all signs of progress. Let's think about confidence outside of language learning. Imagine someone who wants to become a good swimmer. They do not jump into the deepest part of the pool on the first day. They start in shallow water, practice basic movements, and gradually become stronger. English learning follows the same pattern. Begin with simple conversations. Practice basic questions and answers. As your skills improve, challenge yourself with longer and more difficult discussions. It is also important to create a positive learning environment. Surround yourself with English as much as possible. Change the language settings on your phone. Listen to English music. Watch English movies with subtitles. Follow educational channels that inspire you to keep learning. The more English becomes part of your daily life, the less intimidating it will feel. Friends and family can also play a role in your learning journey. If you know someone who is studying English, practice together. Ask each other simple questions. Talk about your day, your hobbies, or your future plans. Learning with another person can make the process more enjoyable and less stressful. Sometimes, however, you may not have anyone to practice with. That is completely fine. You can still make great progress on your own. Speak aloud while reading a text. Describe the objects in your room. Record your voice on your phone and listen to it later. At first, hearing your own voice may feel uncomfortable, but it is one of the best ways to identify areas for improvement. Many learners avoid speaking because they think they need to know every grammar rule first. Grammar is important, but communication should come before perfection. Children learn to speak their first language long before they study grammar in school. They learn by listening, repeating, and practicing. English learners can benefit from the same approach. Another useful tip is to stop apologizing for your English. Some learners begin every conversation by saying, "Sorry, my English is very bad." This creates a negative mindset before the conversation even begins. Instead, believe in your ability to communicate. Speak with a smile and focus on sharing your ideas. Confidence often influences how people perceive your language skills. Let's imagine another everyday conversation. You meet someone new at a community event. They ask, "Where are you from?" You answer confidently and then ask them a question in return. The conversation continues naturally. You may not know every word, but you use the vocabulary you have and keep the discussion moving. This is exactly how fluency develops. Mistakes should not be seen as failures. They are valuable teachers. If you use the wrong word, and someone corrects you, you have learned something new. If you mispronounce a word and then discover the correct pronunciation, you are improving. Every mistake gives you information that helps you become a better speaker. Patience is another key ingredient. Building confidence does not happen overnight. Some days you will feel motivated, while other days you may feel frustrated. That is normal. Progress in language learning is not always a straight line. Sometimes you will feel stuck, but if you continue practicing, you will eventually notice improvement. Think about how far you have already come. There was probably a time when even simple English words felt unfamiliar. Today, you can understand lessons, recognize common expressions, and continue building your skills. Every hour you spend practicing is an investment in your future. English can open many doors. It can help you travel, find new job opportunities, connect with people from around the world, and access a huge amount of information online. Every step you take toward becoming more confident in English brings you closer to these opportunities. Another way to increase confidence is by teaching what you know. If you have learned a new phrase or grammar point, explain it to a friend or family member. Teaching helps strengthen your own understanding and reminds you that you have already gained valuable knowledge. Remember that fluency is not about speaking quickly. Many people think fast speech means good English, but that is not always true. Good communication means expressing your ideas clearly and understanding others. Speaking calmly and carefully often leads to better conversations. As you continue your English journey, try to build simple daily habits. Listen to English for 15 minutes each morning. Learn 5 new words every day. Practice speaking for 10 minutes in the evening. Read a short article before going to bed. These small actions may not seem powerful on their own, but together they create lasting improvement. Consistency is much more important than intensity. Studying for 15 minutes every day is often more effective than studying for 3 hours once a week. Small daily efforts train your brain and help English become a natural part of your routine. Now, I want you to imagine yourself 1 year from today. If you continue practicing a little every day, how much could you improve? You could understand movies more easily, hold simple conversations, make new international friends, and feel much more confident using English in daily life. The future version of yourself will be grateful that you started today. Before we finish today's lesson, I want to leave you with one final message. Confidence is not something that appears before you act. Confidence is something that grows because you act. Every time you speak, every time you listen, every time you practice, you are building confidence. You do not have to wait until you feel ready. Start with what you know, use the words you have, and trust that you will improve with time. Remember, every fluent English speaker was once a beginner. Every confident speaker once felt nervous. The only difference is that they kept going. You can do the same. Believe in yourself. Be patient with your progress, and never be afraid to make mistakes. Those mistakes are helping you become stronger. Thank you so much for joining me today on Learning English USA. I hope this episode of English Podcast, How to Build Confidence in English, has inspired you to keep learning and practicing every day. Remember to listen again. Repeat the sentences aloud and use English whenever you have the chance. I'm Jessica, and I truly appreciate the time you spent learning with me today. Keep listening, keep speaking, keep practicing, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself. Every small step forward is progress, and every day of practice brings you closer to your goals. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Stay positive. Stay confident, and I'll see you again in our next English lesson. Goodbye, and take care.